Can you
Hello.
hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you. Perfect. Perfect.
Excellent. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We're going to be recording this interview, just you and I. I was hoping that maybe we could spend about 30 minutes or so to hear a little bit of the story of Weingut Gross and the area that you make wine in, and a little bit of the wines and some of the things that impassion you about making wine. Um, just a little introduction about us. So, my name is Paul Kulik. We have a wine store here in Omaha, Nebraska, which is kind of tucked away in the middle of the United States. And we've
Yeah,
got a number of lovely guests who kind of follow some of the things that we're interested in. And so, what we'll do is we'll take this interview, we'll send it to them so that then they can kind of learn a little bit more about you and what you do. So, with that, I suppose I'll let you take it from here.
super. Um, Super. It's everything. You hear me clear?
Perfectly.
Super, super. So, just to first of all, the I have to tell everything. Also, talk about our situation about the family. Weingut Gross is my brother Johannes is the owner. Maria and me, we are the owner of Vino Gross in Slovenia, and together we work on the project as Jakobi. That's what we do in family business, still together. So that's more or less. Gross and Gross. So the combination of both wineries. My brother is doing the winemaking, and Maria and me be doing everything else, marketing part, sales, and stuff like this. So this is more or less the the cooperation of the two wineries. Yeah. So, but I grew up at Winery Gross in Austria, so I know quite well how Südsteiermark is, or or how the wines are.
How
Super.
far apart are the two wineries?
So Vino Gross is in Slovenia. That's just let's say 30, 40 kilometers or 45 minutes by car away. So it's close by, but the climate is already a little bit different. Less rain, a little bit early in ripeness, but it's it's more or less yeah, similar because we are all influenced by the Alps. The climate is very influenced by the Alps, cool climate region, a lot of cool winds during the nights, warmer days in summer, but not hot. It's moderate warm. So that's the reason why our wines are that fresh and keep the freshness and with the perfect ripeness. That's more or less the secret of the region of the freshness in our wines. Mm.
So I'm assuming that the Vino Gross was added as a second project later. If I understand, the original winery was founded in about 100 years ago. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Um, I start from the beginning. I was for sure I was not born, but it was my grandfather of my grandpa
Sure.
who started the project or the wine business as we know. Maybe or we're pretty sure that also our family had vineyards before because but we had not not papers for that because the church burned down and everything got lost. The monks were the only one who did some writings and did know who is the owner and what they did before. So, but from 1907, we know exactly that our family is dealing with wine. Um, but it was as farmers, we had cows, chicks, apples, wine was just one part of all that to survive. But my grandparents, they started in 1959 to make also some kind of a restaurant. But it was just with cold dishes. And so they could start to survive, really to survive only from wine and from tourism and from guests. So this was the beginning. Then my father started to focus 100% on wine, quit the some kind of restaurant. It's not really a restaurant. It's just, where you are allowed to offer your own products. The winery grew and grew, and then my brother and me took over in 2007, 8, around that. And in the beginning, we did Weingut Gross and the vineyards in Slovenia together. So we started to buy vineyard sites in Slovenia with 2005. And but I was so impressed of these vineyard sites in Slovenia that when I met Maria and showed her also these sites, Maria is my wife, showed her the sites in Slovenia, we decided to try to start our own story. And but we are in a close relationship with my brother's family. And the fun thing is that my brother's wife is the sister of my wife. It's also a nice story.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We are really related to each other, and so we said, okay, let's work together and start the business of Gross and Gross together. So that means Gross and Gross is the cooperation of the two families, where we do some projects together. We do also a very nice grape juice project together. We do the Jakobi Sauvignon Blanc, with a nice label, nice story behind the wine, and not too complicated wines. Mainly Weingut Gross and also Vino Gross. We do quite terroir-driven wines, or sometimes complicated, but with Jakobi, Mitzi, it's a Muscat. We try to make wines where it's not more easy to drink, but still a lot of complexity. And that's the idea behind our cooperation.
Perfect. I want to go back to something you said that I thought was really interesting, that you had, or I guess the restaurant was started with the idea that you could serve your own products, because that's an idea that I know happens more frequently in Europe in terms of it being kind of a category of restaurant. Can you, because our wine store, Howard Street Wine Merchant, is connected to a restaurant. And here in this part of the country, we have an idea that we love to use local products. We don't necessarily make ourselves, but you said things that you make yourself. And can you explain a little bit of how that arrangement works?
Yes, this is arrangement. It's a law from the former monarchy, so it's even very old, more than I think 200 years old. So that farmers are allowed to serve the products they do on their own. That means that they have an income, but it's not. They don't have the like a restaurant business. There is a lot of bureaucracy you have to do. It's not in this case. It's some kind. We call it Buschenschank, and it's. But you're only allowed to serve cold dishes. No warm dishes. No coffee. No beer. Well, when you do beer on your own, you're allowed to serve it. But wine, meat from your own production. So that is the idea. Nowadays, it changed a little bit because the rules of serving meat, what you do on your own, it's very, very strict. So they said, okay, you can buy meat from local
producers or suppliers.
Yes, and partners, but you have to do the wine, juices, and everything on your own. It's still the regulation.
And then, do you have other fruit besides grapes on the farm, or was that something that was common in your area? And because of that fruit, did you also ever produce any schnapps or any kind of spirits on the side?
It was very, very common that the farmer does all on his own. The schnapps, as you said, the juices, pigs, some of them had cows, sheep. So it was very, very common to do that. So in this way, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, when the wine business really grew fast, this got some kind of lost. this it was only focused on wine. A lot of wineries, also as my father did. But now we get a little bit more back to the situation. Also to have some sheep, to have pigs, to have chickens at home, but mainly for ourselves, not to serve it or sell it to customers.
Does this change your?
That's it's because we are very lucky. We live on the countryside. We have a lot of land, and it's something what really interests us. My brother's family and Martina and Johannes, they're very interested in having their own private chickens and stuff like this. And also my wife and me, Maria, we built our home in Slovenia next year. And also we plan a classic farm, with a lot of apple trees, a lot of different stuff like this. Not only wine, but wine is the focus for sure. It's our business, what we live from.
Has that changed the way you approach the farming in general? So
yeah.
when you go about either deciding to be organic or anything along those lines, having either history or interest in other products, does that influence you in how you farm?
Absolutely, yes. It's more, we try to live with the circle of life, a circle of what we do, and for sure, it's also the farming, the organic farming, what we do. It's not all about perfect numbers, perfect numbers of turnovers and stuff like this. I think it has changed a little bit. We are in a situation, we have a good life, we have a good home, the business is running, but it's not the question to getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's more to keep our standard, to keep, but also grow in other directions, not mainly in turnover, but in life. Maybe
for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a picture of the map of kind of where you are in Austria, to speak a little bit more about your sort of the original area. We call it Styria, and kind of how that differs. Part of what we're doing is a kind of exploration of various parts of Austria to learn a little bit about how things change. And for being a relatively, from an American perspective, a pretty small country, how incredibly diverse the climates and the situation and the wines are. And so I think that's what's really exciting, that there's sort of a crossroads where you exist. So maybe you can speak a little bit to kind of what is different about where you are versus maybe either in Burgenland or in Lower Austria, Niederösterreich. What makes sense there?
Yeah. So are you putting the map on?
I am working on that right now.
Okay. So for the beginning, we are the more south region, or the far south region in Austria, wine region, but we are by far the coolest wine region. It's because I mentioned it before, we have a lot of influence of the Alps. You see, we are in Südsteiermark situated. The wine where it grows is in Südsteiermark, and yeah, that's absolutely here. And the other parts in Austria, Lower Austria is in the north, in the east it's Burgenland. The warmest region is Burgenland because they have more influence of the Pannonian climate from Hungary, where they also grow a lot of reds. In our region, Südsteiermark, it's nearly just white wine. Some, about 10% is red, I think, but 90% is white wine. And the varieties are, as it's written on the map, it's Sauvignon Blanc, Muscat Blanc, and Pinot Blanc. That's and also Velschriesling are very, very important varieties. Totally different varieties than you find in Lower Austria. In Lower Austria, they have more Grüner Veltliner, or Grüner, as it's also well known. In Burgenland, I told you before, it's Blaufränkisch, Zweigelt, more the reds. And in Südsteiermark, because we are really cool climate region, Sauvignon Blanc is very attractive. And yes, and also by history on, it was always the lower, the south part of Austria, the Styria, was always connected to the northern part of former Yugoslavia, or nowadays Croatia and Slovenia. So in these countries, you find nearly the same varieties or main varieties as we have in Steiermark.
And here you can also see just kind of how close you are to Slovenia. So you're really talking about a border that's probably moved a little bit over history, and so a culture that overlaps a little bit.
Yeah, it's as I always tell people when they ask me how is life now in Slovenia, I say I have more in common with the Slovenian people than with the people from Vienna. So because same history, same songs, same stories from the past. Only the language is different, but you know, it was more than 500 years, 600 years together. And yeah, and just the last let's say 60 years, it's divided, or 70 years.
But, so the history of growing Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Blanc, and Muscat Blanc, is that an old history? Is that something that's more introduced recently?
No, it's an old history. So we have, I think, Sauvignon Blanc more than 150 years in our region. Also Muscat even longer. And yeah, Sauvignon Blanc, but Sauvignon Blanc got really popular in the early 90s. So, and that was the reason of my father's generation. They found out when they compare the Sauvignon Blanc from our region to Sauvignon Blancs from other countries or other regions, they found out that we have very unique style, unique taste, and our wines can mature very well. You can keep them for many years in the cellar or in the store, and they keep the freshness, and that's not normal for Sauvignon Blanc. That's for sure because of the climate. It's very long period of vegetation period in our region. The sugar level does not grow that fast as in other wine regions for Sauvignon Blanc. So we have more not that intense green aromas in our wines. We have more flowers, white flowers, and so that's I think it's because our grapes we can keep our grapes longer on the wine, and the sugar level does not force you to harvest already. So it's I think that's the very important thing of our region to know.
What elevation are the most of your vineyards at, or does elevation play a role?
Absolutely. It starts with around 350 above sea level and goes
That's
up
meters?
to meters, yes, and goes up to approximately 600. I don't know how you count it.
Multiply by 3. It's about 1,000 feet. We use feet here still. Yeah.
So it's quite high above sea level for wine growing. For northern countries, let's call it like this. And we still have to work hard to get the grapes ripe. We don't have the problem that it's getting too warm already. So for our wines and our style, so it's still in a lucky situation. Yeah, my grandfather had in the 70s, he had from 10 vintages, just 5 vintages where the grapes got ripe. Nowadays, for sure, each year is nearly a good year, but we don't have these problems anymore. But also not the problem that it's too warm. Yeah.
Do you have between you and the Adriatic or the Mediterranean, do you have higher mountains that protect you from some of the warmer winds that might come up from that area?
Yes, we are not that far away from Adria. We are by car. It's about 2 hours. It's really close by, but the Alps are more or less in between. we are on the eastern side, it's open to Hungary. So from there, it more comes the influence of the warm climate. And from the western side, from the Alps, it comes the influence of the cooler climate, north and western. So and in the south, we have not that much influence of the Adriatic. It's mainly, sometimes you find already some flowers who grow also on the sea, but yeah, that's not by climate. So we get a lot of rain from the south. That's what we get when the rain comes from south, west, and north, and we always get the rain from all sides. That's also important to know. Or the reason why our wines taste like it tastes. They have a quite high rain.
And so you don't need to irrigate. You can just use natural precipitation.
Not at all. I don't know anybody in Südsteiermark who needs irrigation. We have about 1,000 liter per square meter, so that's quite much. So sometimes hard in the growing season, mainly in the beginning of the ripeness, when there is a lot of rain, it's really bad for rot. So we have to always be aware in this time and pray that not too much rain. But it's also it's something what makes us special. Yeah,
Do you need to worry much about frost? And I know that, for example, there are huge problems with frost right now in France. Is this something that you struggle with? Do you have a serious winter, or what is winter like there?
Yeah, winter is when we drive 1 hour direction north or 1 hour 20, we are in the skiing regions. So, but where we are situated, it's not that much snow anymore. So it's the last years. Let's say about the last 5-6 years, the frost got really yeah, something we have to think. We in 2016 about percent of our harvest, same as they did in Chablis. So it was really hard for us. This year we were in a lucky situation that the shoots did not already have the bud break. Bud break is the right term, right?
Yeah.
I hope that did not happen. So right now, because we had also -4 degrees, so really normal frost, and so but 1 week later the -4 degrees, and we would have also the same problems as they had in France. So
when is the normal bud break, and then when is the normal harvest? Sort of what range do you kind of anticipate the beginning and the end of the year?
Let's call it last 10 years, bud break starts around now, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe 1 week later, but it's coming, and then the harvest starts around mid of September.
And what do you take first, or how do you go about the harvest? What is the process?
To this, you mean to decide when you harvest or?
Yes, but I guess my question is twofold. So, how do you decide that you're going to start your harvest? And then, when you go through the harvest, what do you bring in first? How do you bring it in? And then maybe just a brief moment on what is the process for vinification and then aging.
So normal to decide when we harvest, it's it's the taste is always very important when you go in the vineyards and taste the grapes. But it's not only that; it's always we do measurements for sure. But the most important thing is how the grapes taste like. Then it does not mean that the best vineyard site or the best wine is always harvested the latest. No, sometimes it's still, in some vintages it's totally different. We start with the best size, with our most prestigious wines, and then go on with the entry level. Depends on the vintage. It's year by year. It's absolutely changes, and so it's no written book where you can say, okay, year by year it's the same. the vinification process is, or we do harvest all by hand. It's also very important. So we have a lot of helping hands during the harvest, about 50 to 60 sometimes. Then vinification process is for the wine Jakobi we have. We're gonna taste, I think, shortly.
Yeah, that's right.
It's fermented in stainless steel. About 50% is fermented with added yeast and 50% with natural yeast. The 50% with added yeast, that's because we buy, for Jakobi, we buy grapes from my uncle, and 50% are from the vineyards of my brother. And the 50% of the vineyards of my brother, he knows what he did the whole year, and so for that he trusts absolutely in don't touching anything. Fruits we buy, we add yeast that it's more safely in fermentation. That's the
you ferment them separately, obviously. So separate
yes,
tanks
yes.
for the. Okay.
We ferment each vineyard different or in separately, and then we blend when it's getting ready. Then we blend the wines.
Yeah. And then, so age in stainless steel for the Jakobi. Now we're speaking about that gets aged in stainless steel, and then goes in a bottle, and then ages in bottle. Is that?
Yes, we keep 6 months. We keep the wine in the cellar about. So it's also Jakobi. It's the first wine we bottle after 6 months. It's also some kind of Jakobi shows very, very well the region. It's not a too complicated wine, but it's it's nice and typical wine from Südsteiermark. For other wines, doesn't matter if I talk it now about my brother in Austria or Maria and me in Slovenia. We keep the wines for 18 months in the cellar.
Okay.
So for all others, so it's Jakobi. It's more or less our entry level wine for to get in touch with our region. It's very, very. I think it's very good to get in touch with Jakobi first.
I'm curious about where do you send the wines for delivery to the United States? Does it go down to Trieste, or how does that? What's the easiest way to ship them here?
I'm not sure because we winery Kracher, for sure. He collects all the wines from us. We send all just to Kracher, and from there it goes with the container direct. I don't know if they do it from Trieste or from Rotterdam or from Hamburg. Okay. I have no idea. But for us, it's quite easy to ship to Kracher Winery, and they do all the stupid export work. I call it like this.
So that's in goals, right? So everything has to go up to.
Very thankful for collect all the wines from all wineries who work together with Schatzi wines from Austria. So they send to Kracher, and then from Kracher it goes direct on the container.
Yeah, that's not the most elegant question in the world, but I'm just curious about how the wines make it from where you are. So the last sort of piece of information that I was kind of interested in is, so if we go to your website, you have a list of the individual vineyards. So this is the Weingut Gross, not Gross and Gross. And you refer to them as it's a reed, like that's the name of the plot. And so for, I think, some of our guests who are maybe not as familiar with how Austrian wine is sort of organized, there's a lot of similarity to the Burgundian system, where you have areas of origin for the fruit, but it even goes all the way down to the individual vineyard site. And we didn't speak very much about the soils. I don't know, the climate seems to be very important for you, but do soils play a role in how you sort of select what you plant, and also what you determine as your best sites?
When we talk about Riedenweine or single vineyard wines, for sure the soil is very, very important. that plays a role, or if the wine grows on sand or on lime or on marl, that's totally different in style. But Jakobi is what we will taste now. It's from different soils. It's from sandy soils, lime soils, and a marl soil. So it's a blend of it's a typical regional wine. But when it comes to Riedenweine or single vineyard wines, it's all about the microclimate, all about the soil there. We absolutely see a difference if it grows on sand or on lime. We have to treat the wine differently in the cellar to show the best sides of the single vineyards. So I think Südsteiermark has a lot of different soil types. Also, in 500 or 300 meters, it could be 3 different soils. When it comes to Vino Gross, where we are, we have just nearly one soil, the marl soil. It's also very interesting in all of our vineyards. But in Südsteiermark, it's very different. Let's call it like this: sandy marl and also schist is in one small part. So yeah, there's a lot to offer the region.
That's fantastic. So walk us through kind of what we expect to see when we open a bottle of Jakobi. What do we expect to see? What do we expect to taste? And then probably most important is, and as we sort of finish, what do we eat with it? I think that's an important piece too.
Super, yeah. Should I show you the bottle already?
Yeah, for sure.
Super. So first of all, now to introduce you, Jakobi. It's the name of the wine, Jakobi, comes from the 25th of July. It's the Jakobi Day. It's a very important day in our village. There we celebrate. We have a big hike through the vineyards and have a lot of fun. And the typical Styrian wind wheels start to make noise to get rid of the birds so they eat our grapes. So this is it's also it's a nice it's very important for our village. Let's call it this day, and that's the name the name of the wine also. And with this label, we tried also to tell more not just the variety in the region. We also want that the people have something to look at the label. That's a calendar. That's an old calendar with January, February, March, April, and so on. And here are the days, and there we pointed in with symbols what happened in this particular vintage. When we racked the wine, or when it was a bud break, or when thunderstorm came, or hailstorm, or when it was warm weather periods, or snow, or something like this, or it's a documentation of this particular vintage. So it's also more to tell the people, and it's these farmer calendars, and normally they were made 250 years ago, that the farmers know when they have to bring out the seeds, when they have to do a work, and we changed it. We don't tell what will happen. We tell with these symbols what happened, and so it's also a nice thing behind this wine. You have a lot to look, a lot to and that's also, I think, the success of Jakobi. Not only the wine tastes good, it's also a nice story behind.
Fantastic. So 2 things, and then we can wrap up. So what do you recommend? I think right now, if we were to open a bottle, it's maybe before lunch. So if you were to open the wine now, what do you recommend to drink it with, sort of for any particular point of the day? And then what are some of the traditional dishes from your region that help inspire the winemaking?
Yeah, I think this wine goes very well to several dishes, mainly pre-dishes, like call it like this, or vegetables, not to yeah, maybe not meat for sure. That's more for more powerful wines. But when you love to have salads or even as I told you before, some vegetables or fish, it's a very nice combination. Also, if you do a barbecue outside with nice weather, just to drink next to the barbecue, it's a very nice wine. So yeah, that's I think, or just to drink it in with this, when the sun goes down as a sundowner.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fun. And you know, it's yeah, and the wine tastes or is a typical wine for our region. That means nice acidity, not too high in alcohol, fresh with I have to now look for the English word for it. What it means.
What is it?
The English word, it's a yellow pepper, lemon zest you have in the
Citrus?
nose. Citrus, yes, and black currant, mirabelle. That's the typical,
Sure.
yeah,
Those are the
things you can.
flavors and aromas. And lastly, give me just one or two of the classic dishes from your area, two dishes that maybe either you would see in every guest house or every restaurant, or something that you feel really expresses sort of the tradition and the culture of the area.
Yeah, I think very famous everywhere when you come when you come to Austria is the Wiener Schnitzel. we love it. The childs love it. Everyone loves it. So, but for our region, it's mainly it's a fried chicken. It's very common. So, and then we have some kind of polenta in our region. It's not as fine as polenta. It's a little bit more. Yeah, what's the opposite of fine? It's not
Coarse,
yeah, a little
club
bit,
like coarse. Yeah.
and that's also very typical for our region. So you can combine it with with tomatoes or vegetables, or or a classical side dish. That's very common in our region.
And
So
is that made from corn or is that made from another?
yes, it's made from corn. Yes,
Fantastic.
it's more or less the same as polenta, but it's not that fine as the
Not so
polenta.
smooth.
It's also very yeah, famous dish in our region where people know, okay, this is from that's home.
And what do you
That's
call it?
it's Sterz. We call it Sterz. It's the term
Okay.
for it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate kind of getting to know more about what you do, more about everything that goes into the bottle. You know, on our side, we just see the labels, we see words. We don't always get to understand all the work and the intention that goes into it. So I really appreciate your taking some time to help clarify that for us. We look forward to tasting through more of the lines of wines. And of course, anytime you find yourself in the United States, here in the middle, please come by and say hi.
I was for sure a few times in New York and in LA and San Francisco, and for sure in all these big cities. Or I did an intern in Portland at a winery next to Portland. So I really love to be in US, but I never was at your place. So maybe next time, hopefully, and hope that we can travel soon again, so that we see us not only via Zoom, also in person.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for all that you do. And best of luck this vintage.
Thank you very much. Okay, enjoy.
Bye-bye. Thank you.